Hey everybody, it's Mitch, and welcome to my next video. Today I am going to be teaching you how to play Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. Alright, so let's get started with this. Okay, so how to play D&D 3.5 with me, Mitch. I've been playing this game for quite a long time. I have like over 200 videos, I think, at this point, somewhere around 200 probably. I haven't checked the exact number on 3.5 at this moment. I'm making a bunch more. So, yeah, just letting you know that's where I'm coming from. I know this game pretty well. First off, our table of contents. First off, we're going to talk about making sure everyone's on the same page, because that's really important to do. We're going to talk about how to role play a tabletop RPG. Some of you might already know this if you've played other tabletop RPGs like 5e, but maybe you don't. We're going to talk about the D20 system. So if you have experience playing tabletop RPGs, you may or may not already know this. Like 5e uses the D20 system as well. Same with Pathfinder, but not every system uses this. Like if you're used to GURPS, or if you're used to Vampires of the Masquerade or other systems, this is going to be different. So yeah, we're going to talk about key character sheet stats. So on your character sheet, there's certain things that you're going to be referencing a lot, so we're going to kind of point those out. We're going to talk about base scores and total scores, and we're going to talk about class features versus hit dice and improvements. We're also going to be talking about bonus types and ability types. We're also going to be talking, I'm also going to be telling you why you shouldn't show up to a new game with a character already made. Don't do that. We're going to talk about how combat works. We're going to talk about how spellcasting works. And then we're going to explain have fun. But there's a little more to that, so stick around. So first off, you got to make sure everybody is on the same page. So some people are playing to win. They are there because they're trying to beat the big baddie, or they're trying to do whatever it is they're trying to do, and they're trying to succeed on some goal. Others are just messing around, and winning isn't really a thing for them. So it really just sort of depends on your play style. Character cooperation. Some characters want to cooperate more than others. Just keep that in mind. These are things you want to talk to the group and your DM about. Make sure that everybody's kind of at least similar on similar pages of what they want, and at least know what the consensus is on these things. Rule strictness. Some people want to strictly adhere to the rules. Others want to throw the rule book out the window and just wing it. Some people want to have a nice story that they follow. Others want to play more of a sandbox game where players just kind of do whatever they want in the world the DM creates. So there's also the level of mechanical accuracy. So some people do like theater of the mind stuff, where you just have fun, do whatever it is. But there is a certain level of accuracy that comes with putting everything onto a grid and rolling for initiative, and figuring out exactly where everybody is and where everything is, so that you can let all the mechanics and rules that are built into the game play out. It is more tedious, but if you're a strategist, this is really nice, because you can really let your strategy fly, whereas it's a little harder to pull off in theater of the mind. Player experience. You got to talk about player experience. So basically, you need to know how many people there are new to the game, how many people are experienced and have played a bunch. Is it okay that you're the only new guy at the table? Hopefully that's not the case. Are you the only experienced guy at the table? That one's not as bad. So you really got to kind of know where everybody's at, figure out the how things are. Various tables can vary on that. All new players can be interesting, to see a bunch of players and DMs all trying to figure things out together. There's also ones where everybody knows what they're doing and things just run super smoothly and efficiently. Those ones are great, but they don't do much to grow the game because there's nobody new there that's learning. And of course, there's games where it's about 50-50. Those ones I like because you have the newer players teaching the older players. Things run somewhat smoothly and efficiently because you got a number of people who know what's going on. But, you got new people who are learning the game and will know what's going on later and can, keep this game alive for years to come, which is what's great about new players. And then backstory. So, there's various levels of backstories you can have. If your backstory interacts with the world at large that your DM created, well, you're going to need to talk to them about it and make sure that's okay and know what the world story is so that you can mesh it in. You can't just make up a backstory and then it's like, yeah, we're not playing in a world that's anywhere near like that. That backstory doesn't work. You don't want that. You also, maybe talk to your other players. Maybe you want to do a group backstory where like you all know each other somehow. That's a thing you can do. Make sure everyone's okay with that though. So yeah. Now we're going to be talking about basically how to play a tabletop RPG. So if you've already played tabletop RPGs, you already know this, but we're going to go over it anyway for anyone who doesn't know this, because maybe this is their first RPG they've played. So first off, you're playing a character. You are going to be, in character for some of the time. You might be doing an accent like... I'm trying to think of one at the moment. Yarg, mateys! You might do a pirate accent like that. I don't know. I don't know how even good that of an accent that was, but you might do that, and you just talk like a pirate anytime you're talking in character. So yeah, you might do that. Sometimes groups actually require that you talk in character the whole time. It varies from group to group. Personally, I prefer the style where, you a little more chill, and you can say when you're talking in character, or you do something like you do a voice to talk in character. But it varies from group to group. D&D is also a game about, but to stay with role-playing character, you are your character. The DM is making the story. You are one of the key characters. The other players are also the main character. And you are kind of all collaboratively making a story where the DM runs the world, and you and your fellow players are all the main characters, and you've all got your own motives and objectives, and it can make for a really interesting and engaging story. So yeah, with storytelling and improvisation, you see that a lot. There's also a good amount of improv that happens because, no one knows what exactly is going on. When players sit down, they don't know what the DM has in mind. They don't know where the story could potentially lead. And the DM, they don't know what the players are thinking. They have a story and stuff in mind, but they have no idea how the players are going to interact with that. And that can make a huge impact on the game. So everybody's flying by the seat of their pants the whole time, and that's one of the most fun things about it, is trying to make things go the way you want, despite the fact that everyone else has their own objectives too, and just making things work somehow. So yeah, and this isn't a video game. This is a pen, or often called a pen and paper game, but it's a pencil and paper game. I'll get into that in a sec. But when you're talking to the innkeeper, you don't get a list of options of, should I say this to him? Should I say that to him? Should I say that to him? And each one has its own result. No, that's a video game. That's how they work. This is D&D. When you're talking to an NPC, you don't have a list of options. You just say, yo, barkeep, what's up? Or whatever it is you want to say. And then the DM has to respond with something on the fly. And then you can respond on the fly to that. There's no choices. You gotta think about it. So effectively infinite choices. Like, yeah, you can say literally anything to him. Like you could walk up to the barkeep and say, yeah, can I buy a sword? And he'll be like, what are you talking about? Like you could do it. Don't recommend that, but you could. Yeah, so it's not a video game. It is a pencil and paper game. Pencil. Don't use pen. Because you're going to be erasing a lot. So you want to treat your character sheets very gingerly. Because you're going to have a nice little character sheet. I'll show that here in a second. Yeah, you'll have that nice little character sheet, and they tend to wear out after a while. So, write softly, be able to erase. Trust me, you're going to want that. But yeah, write softly and erase softly so that your character sheet doesn't get torn up too much too quickly. Just a tip. So you're also going to be using maps and minis and dice in this game. So I don't have any maps or minis closely at hand. They're all across the room. Yeah, and I suspect you don't want to see me spend 30 seconds digging them up. But I do have some dice here. So we have the D4 here, which is a 4-sided dice, a little pyramid-shaped thing. We have a D6, pretty standard looking dice. And this is just so basically D just stands for dice, and then the number is how many sides are on it. So this is another D6. This one might look familiar because this is the kind that you see in a Yahtzee set. I think this particular one actually came from a Yahtzee set. So you see them from like playing Monopoly and stuff like that too. Let's see. Then you have the D8. A D8, it's an 8-sided die. That's what it looks like. Kind of like a double pyramid type thing. It's very different than the D4 though. Let's see. Then there is you have your D10, which is a 10-sided die. The 0 is actually 10 when you're rolling this by itself. It does have a partner die to it, and that is what's called the percentile die. If you notice, that has like a 0 at the end of it. So if you have, numbers like that where you see, it's not showing up well, but if you see like a 60 on this die, and then you saw like a 9 on this die, that'd be a 69. So that's just real. It's really that simple. If you see a 00 on here and a 6, that's a 6. Whereas if you see the only weird thing is if you see an 80 on here, and then you see a 0, that's an 80. The weird one though is if you see a 00 and a 0, that actually is 100, not 0. So that's the only weird one. Let's see, that's it for the D%. You also have a D12, which also makes up part of your standard set of dice. That's kind of what that looks like. And then you have your D20, which is the one you're going to be rolling for almost everything. There's the D20 and D12 side by side. They're commonly mixed up because they're both kind of spherical looking, but you can tell the D12 because it's got a lot larger flat edges than the D20. But it's common to mix them up. Even experienced players do it from time to time. So now we're going to talk about the D20 system. I actually have that particular die right here. Let's see. They're used for almost every single check in the game. So anytime you need to make a skill check or an attack roll or a saving throw, or really anytime you're checking to see if something fails or not, you're going to roll a D20 for the most part. There are some exceptions we'll get to in a second. And what you'll do is you will take whatever the score that you have for that is. So like if it's a will save, you'll look at your will save and you'll roll a D20 and you'll add the two together. So if you have a 13 will save and you roll a D20 and it comes up, ooh, that actually came up a nat 1, which that's a good point. I hadn't thought, I almost forgot to mention that. So I'll roll it again, but so this came up a 15. So we'll add 15 to our roll and to whatever our will save was, and we'll see what that is. Now, if that is greater than or equal to what the save DC was, then we pass and we don't take the full effect of it. We'll take, less damage or possibly none, depending on what we're rolling for exactly. So that's really how that works. If I was an attack roll and you rolled high enough, then you hit. If it's a skill roll, then you succeed. So yeah, it's really you're just rolling against the flat DC a lot of the time. Sometimes you're going to roll opposed rolls where one person rolls a D20, another person rolls a D20. Whoever's higher wins. If it's a tie, then it'll go to whoever the defending character is. So yeah, now let's get into that one that I rolled. So a 1 and a 20 are special on the dice. So if you're rolling an attack roll or a saving throw, and you roll a 1, that is a fail. That is what's known as a critical fail, and you just fail regardless. You don't add your number, you just fail. Sometimes DMs will have extra bad things happen when you roll a nat 1. It's part of a thing called the fumble rule, but not always. It really varies. Now, if you roll a nat 20, that is an auto success. If you do that on a attack roll, and it's only on attack rolls that the fumble rule applies, not on saves. But if you roll that on an attack roll, then it's actually a critical hit, a critical threat. Then you'd roll again, and if you hit a second time, then you confirm the hit, or confirm the critical hit, and you get the critical. If you fail, then it just hits. So I know that's complicated, but yeah, 1s and 20s are special. Except for if you're doing it for like skill checks, it's 1 is a 1 and a 20 is a 20. Some DMs have like special rules for that, but rules is written 1 is a 1, a 20 is a 20. You just use them as is. So yeah, that's basically the D20 system. Now other dice like your D4, your D6, your D8, D12, D10, all of those are going to be used to do things like damage. So we already know that it worked. Now we're just going to figure out how good it worked. So whenever it's a roll to figure out how good something worked, even though we already know it worked, that's going to generally be using the other dice, and it'll tell you it'll tell you what to roll with that. It'll say something like 1d6, which means roll one 6-sided die, or 4d8, which means roll 4 8-sided die. So yeah, fairly simple and straightforward. There'll usually be some pluses and stuff, but it's fairly easy to read. So there are some exceptions. So sometimes you'll use percent dice in order to roll. Like I showed before, the percent dice with the zeros, and then with this, you roll the 2 dice together, and that'll help with this. That'll determine whether you succeed or not. That's done for if you're dying and you're making a save to see if if you're stabilized or not. It's used for rolls to overcome mischances. It's used for a couple of other things, but it's only used for things where it's a percent chance, and they need typically need more accuracy than just 20 options. So yeah. DMs also roll those a lot too on tables. Anyways, that's it for the D20 system. There's more to it, but I only have time for a basic overview here. So your character sheet stats. So there's certain things on your character sheet that are going to be more prominent than others. First off, your base attack bonus. That's a really common one. That's right there. That's one that you're going to need to know for a number of different things. Your health is one of the most important things. That's going to be there. That's going to be where you put your total, but then you're going to be keeping track of your current HP at any time right there, because that's going to be changing because, your health, you're going to take damage and then you're going to get healed and then you're going to take more damage. It's just how the game goes. So you're going to have your AC here. That's your total AC. You have your touch AC and your flat-footed AC. We can get into that in another video, but that's where those are. That's your armor class. That's going to be how easy it is you are to get hit. So whenever someone's attacking you, you need to use one of those numbers. The DM will tell you which one. So saves, those are going to be right here, your fortitude, reflex, and will saves. All very important. Your initiative, that is going to be right here. that's going to be what you add to a D20 at the start of combat. You roll a D20, add your initiative, and that is going to be where you, that's going to determine where you go on the turn order. The higher you rolled, the sooner you go. So yeah. Then there's skills. That's all right here. Your actual skills are going to be in this column here, and you just add your D20 to that. Then you have your attack score. That's going to be here, your nice attack bonus. There's multiple of them. Sometimes you'll just use the first one. Sometimes you'll use all of them. Really depends on how many weapons and forms of attack you have. Can vary a lot from character to character. Some don't even use any of those, but those are mostly casters. And not all casters, and some casters often do use those. Anyways, so you have base scores and total scores. So there's two different types of scores. You have your base scores, like when you're taking levels of fighter, for instance, you're going to be getting, your will save, a base will save, but you're also going to be adding your wisdom to that. So your total will is, your base plus the total. But when you are trying to apply for skills and when you're trying to apply for feats and prestige classes and stuff, you need to go by the base skill, not the total number. The total is when you're actually rolling it to achieve something. But when you're just trying to see whether or not you qualify to, take some advanced thing like a feat or a prestige class, that goes by your training. Your natural physical or mental abilities don't really factor into that. They factor in when you have to make a check, but not for qualifying for things. So that's just an important thing to note. And you have those with ability scores and skills and saves. Yeah. Gotta remember to hide that. Anyways, class features versus hit die improvements. So as you're leveling up, you're going to be gaining a number of things. Some of these things you're going to gain because, you're leveling up in your class. Some of them, it just comes from your hit dice, which doesn't really matter what class you're in, or if it's from like a race. So like some races that you can take have racial hit dice. We'll get that. I've talked about that in another video, so check that video out for that. But anyway, so like at first level, everybody gets a feat, and then every 3 hit levels or hit dice, you gain another feat. So that's not going to be determined by what class you're in. You just get that regardless of what class. Every time you always get 1 feat at first hit dice, and you get another one every 3 hit dice afterwards. So that's just a flat number. You also get ability score increases every 4 hit dice. So every time you increase your hit dice 4 times, you can take 1 point and add it to either your strength, your dexterity, your constitution, your intelligence, your wisdom, or your charisma. Your choice. And that'll just up one of those scores permanently, which is quite nice. But that's completely independent of leveling up as your class. That's a separate system. You get that every time you gain hit dice, which you do gain a hit dice every time you level up. And a hit dice is when you level up or you gain strength in a monster class, you roll a dice and it'll tell you which one to see how much health you gain. And every time you do that, you gain a hit dice. So, yeah. So every level that'll happen. So base attacks and saves are also technically hit die improvements, although those are tied to the individual class and well as the racial one. So they're all going to be different. So a fighter's hit die, a fighter's base attack bonus and saves are very different than a wizard's, and that's going to be different than animal hit dice. So they're all kind of do different stuff, but you just kind of add those together as you level up to level 20. It gets things change once you hit level 20, but we'll talk about that in another video. For now, just know that at least until you hit level 20, as you level up, you're going to just add your base attack bonuses from your various sources together to find your total base attack bonus, and then you'll add your various save bonuses together to get your total base save bonuses. Then you add other stuff to get your actual total save bonuses. But yeah. Whew. Okay, next up, fighter bonus feats. Fighter bonus feats are a weird one because I know we just talked about feats, but fighters, as well as a few others, classes like wizards, will get bonus feats when they hit certain level marks. And when you hit those level marks in that class, you gain feats. Those typically have to be chosen from a specific list. So you have to follow the feats that you get as a bonus feat have to be from that list. Your other feats that you get every 3 levels can be whatever you want, but those ones have to be from a set list. I know that's a little confusing, but yes. Then there's also spell casting that you'll get. So in particular classes, you'll gain the ability to cast spells, and this is a class feature. Same with fighter bonus feats. That is a class feature. It's not tied to hit dice. It is tied to the class itself. Same with spellcasting. So you'll just have this spell list. It'll tell you what it is in the book. You just follow what it says. And then you'll get other class features as well. Like you can get evasion, or you can get wild shape, or animal companion, or turn undead, or special mount. Or the rage ability. There's a ton of different class features you can get. Some aren't even good, like barbarians get illiteracy. They can't read. Yeah, that's those are class features. They're very much tied to your class. Illiteracy actually goes away if you multi-class, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah. All right. So types. So there's two. So there's bonus types. So when you are like when you're trying to figure out your AC, there's multiple different bonuses that you can get to your AC. There's a shield bonus, an armor bonus, a dodge bonus, a size bonus, deflection bonus. There's a lot of different bonuses you can get, and for the most part, they don't. If they're the same type, they do not stack. So armor bonuses do not stack with armor bonuses. Shield bonuses do not stack with shield bonuses. You take the higher of them. Now, armor bonuses stack with shield bonuses, sure. They're different types, they stack. But you take the highest bonus of each type and you just add them together, and that'll be your total bonus that you add. There are some exceptions to that, like a dodge bonus to AC does actually stack with another dodge bonus to AC, but that's like the only type for AC. There's also other types of bonuses for other things, like for skills you can get proficiency bonuses. You can get those with you can get bonuses on your attack roll for various sources. Enhancement bonus is a very common bonus for armors and shields. Enhancement bonuses to AC actually apply to individual things, so you get like a enhancement bonus to your armor and enhancement bonus to the shield, which they like you can only get one to each because they won't stack with themselves, but the enhancement bonus ups your armor bonus, and then your enhancement bonus to armor enhances your increases your armor bonus, and your enhancement bonus to shield increases your shield bonus. So then they do stack. It can get a little confusing. I know I might have to do a whole video on that one at some point. But yeah, that's a whole thing there. And then there's also 3 different abilities. You can get extraordinary, supernatural, and spell-like abilities. Extraordinary abilities are abilities that come from your raw grit, determination, or just your extreme skill or whatever. These are things that are not magical in any sense. They are things that you get from extreme training. And therefore they will work perfectly fine even in an anti-magic field. They're typically things that can be used much quicker. They often are free action to use unless they say otherwise. Now, supernatural abilities and spell-like abilities, these are things that go beyond what the human body is capable. Supernatural are things that are beyond what the human's capable. And spell-like they're like spells. They're not spells, but they're kind of like spells. Hence spell-like abilities. Anyways, these two do not function in an anti-magic field, and they typically take a standard action to use. So, yeah, that's really all there is with that. All right, so do not show up with a character. Like, if you're showing up to a new game, do not come with a character already made. That is the worst thing you can do. DMs all have different character creation rules. Like they all do things a little different. There's several different ways to roll for stats. That's one of the primary differences. Some people roll, some people use point buys. There's different ways to roll. There's different levels of point buy. It's all complicated. So talk to your DM, ask him which one he's using, and do that. And make sure he's okay. And if it's a rolling system, you know, he might want you to roll in front of him to make sure you don't cheat. So, you know, make sure you do that. Follow whatever your DM says on that. Don't show up with a pre-made character. They're probably not going to let you use it. So, yeah, just show up with a character concept. Say, I want to be a big guy with a sword that likes smacking things with a big weapon. Or I want to be a guy with a sword and a shield. Or I want to have a bow. Or I want to be a stealthy guy. Or I want to be a spellcaster. You can get more specific than that, but don't get too specific. Having an idea of what kind of character you want to be really does help speed up the character creation process, which can take a couple hours. So it's good to have an idea what you want going in, because that can save a lot of time. But don't have a character already made unless you've already talked to the DM and he's approved it, or she's approved it, either way. So yeah. So now let's talk about combat. Combat is 6 seconds long. On top of that, there are 3 action types. There are a few different action types. There's a free action, which takes no time. You also get a swift action, a move action, and a standard action. Swift action is a really quick one. Doesn't take a lot of the time, but you only get 1 per turn. It also eats up your immediate action, so which is actually going to be taken on someone else's turn. I have a whole video all about that. There's also a full action, which takes up both the move and the standard. So yeah, that's basically all there is. It's really oversimplified. I know you probably didn't catch it if you're just learning this for the first time. Check out my video on the action economy to learn more on that, because I already have a whole video explaining that one. All right, so then you have attack rolls. So whenever you're trying to attack somebody in combat, you have to roll an attack roll, or what's sometimes referred to as a roll to hit. Basically you just roll a D20 and you add your attack modifier, and you see if it's higher than the opponent's AC. Now sometimes you can make multiple attacks. Once you get to higher level, you get iterative attacks, and those generally will go down by 5. So each attack you roll, and you add a little bit less to it each time, which makes it harder to hit. But yeah, that's more or less how attack rolls work. Then if you do hit, you roll a damage roll. I think we talked about this a little bit ago. And you roll your damage roll. That might be typically it's like a D8. You might add like a +3 or whatever to it from your strength or your weapon or whatever it is. It could be way more than that. It depends on what level you're at and how strong you are. But yeah, you add your damage, you figure out your damage, and then that's how much damage you do to the opponent's HP. So yeah, then there's a number of combat maneuvers that you can do as well. You can trip, bull rush, grapple, sunder. You can feign. There's a whole bunch of things you can do. There's tumble, jump, lots of things that can be done in combat for various different effects. Yeah, that's a whole thing to do right there. Now spellcasting. Again, this is going to be a simplified version because I already have a couple of videos explaining spellcasting. So simplified version, there's two different types of spellcasting. There's arcane and divine. Arcane is magic that comes from within. Divine magic is magic that comes from a higher power, be it a deity or a just nature itself. So that's going to, or even like just the concept of good can potentially be a force for divine magic. Or various other things like that. So yeah, that's the main difference. Arcane spellcasters have to worry about spell failure while wearing armor because they're relying on very specific movements in order to channel their power. Whereas divine casters, they don't have to worry about that because as long as their deity can figure out what they're going for, it's close enough. So they can wear armor no problem. Let's see, then you have spells known. Divine casters typically are going to know all their spells. Arcane casters typically aren't. They're going to have to pick spells that they want to know, and that'll be their spell list. Again, I have a whole video on arcane versus divine, and then I have a whole video on spells prepared and known. But if you want to check those out, if you're interested in spellcasting. But anyways, prepared spells. So basically, and spontaneous spells, some casters, like divine casters, as well as wizards, have to prepare their spells. So they only know so many spells, although wizards can potentially know all of them. That's just by spending a lot of money to just buy all of them. But anyways, so wizards and divine casters, they have to decide each morning which spells to prepare and how many of each one. So they only have so many spell slots, and they have to lock down what all they can cast for the day, and really just set that firmly in place. And they can only cast what's there and can't really change it up at all. They can not use all of it, sure, but if they only prepared one fireball, they can only cast fireball once, even if they have other third level spell slots. If you want to cast it more, you got to prepare it more times. So there's that. Whereas spontaneous casters, they can cast spells, any spell that they know, whenever, no problem. They just cast it. It's no big deal. Like the sorcerer. I think the bard too, actually. Could be wrong about that. Yeah. So they just sort of cast whatever. Now, casting time is a thing. So when you're casting a spell, there will be a casting time on it. A standard action. If it says a standard action, it takes a standard action. If it takes a full round action, it takes a full round action. Well, if it takes a full round action, it won't actually come out until the next turn. You'll start at this turn and then finish it the following turn. That's just how full round spells work. On top of that, if a spontaneous caster like a sorcerer casts a spell with a meta magic effect, it automatically becomes a full round action, unless it was longer than that. Because some spells have casting times that are like 10 minutes or an hour. Those ones, yeah, they take 10 minutes or an hour. You don't want to use those in combat. 10 minutes is 100 rounds. An hour is 1,000 rounds. Not 1,000, 600 rounds, my bad. I think maybe 6,000. Yeah, I think 600. Anyways, that's a long time. That's completely impractical to do that in the middle of combat. But those ones, if you apply a meta magic feat, it won't increase the time because it's all well over standard. It's already well over a full round action. And finally, have fun. This is a game. We're here to have fun. But it's not just you that's trying to have fun. Everyone's trying to have fun. All the other people at the table with you. We're all trying to enjoy this game. So don't spoil other people's fun. I've seen it done. Don't do that. Keep in mind that everyone's trying to have fun and it's a collaborative experience. Try and make sure you're having your fun, sure, but also make sure that other people are having fun too. And that everybody's having fun. Don't leave anybody out. Yeah, that's my big one on that one. So yeah, make sure everyone's having fun. That's all I have to say really on that. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. That really helps out the algorithm. Now, subscribe to the channel because I have so many more videos on D&D 3.5. So many more. So check those out because, well, like I say, there's a lot of these things that I didn't fully explain because I only have so much time here. So check out my other ones. I don't have videos for all of it yet, but I probably will fairly soon. So check them out. Ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on a video. Leave a comment down below to let me know what you guys think of the video. Yeah, but anyways, as always, I'm Mitch. I'll be seeing you.